Welcome to Conversations with My Cuz. I am Shayla Shay.
And it is me, your girl, Michelle, with the one L.
We are missing our third counterpart, DJ Big Raw, right?
Brother Love in
Emergencies
the
come up.
building. Well, he's not
We
in the
shouting
building.
him out because he was
What
supposed
up,
to,
Brother
he was
Love?
ready until life happened. Life happened. So
Catastrophe, some sort of
we're gonna we're
catastrophe. I
gonna
don't know
move
what
on
happened.
without him, but
Yes,
things happen.
we're
So
gonna move
hey
on. Well,
Keish, I
Happy
see
New
you here
Year.
with us already.
Happy New
Happy
Year,
New
everybody.
Year. Happy New
It's
Year.
2023. Hey, Key.
It is 2023. It is my son's
2023.
birthday today. So shout out to my son and my niece,
Right.
right? And Taylor,
That's
their
right.
birthday twins. So we got that going on today. Capricorns are in the house, girl. You know how I'm covered with Capricorns, mother, father, stepfather, son, niece. Like they just surround me, cover me,
Everybody.
did it all. So shout out to all Capricorns. This is your season. And what else is happening?
What's happening? Um,
That's what I
you know,
said.
you with our DJ Big Rod not being here, he kind of throws things off because there's certain things that he does that are
Annoying and yet necessary.
we have to now do. So as far as what's going on there he is in the chat. What's up, DJ Brother Love? He had a whole big reveal and everything because he had a new name or something like that.
He surely did. And now look at him.
Yeah, on the sidelines. Key, it's not your birthday. I think I've known you your whole life, so no, it's not. But yeah, so we are gonna touch really quick on the football player Damar Hamlin.
Yeah.
Damar, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing his name right. I hope I am.
I'm going
sending
Damar.
prayers. I'm just thankful that he is recovering because at one point it was like a little touch and go, so we didn't know which way it was gonna go. But he's recovering. He's tweeting. I believe that's him tweeting. Or,
yes, he was. He was tweeting because the NFL has decided to honor his financial agreement, his 4-year, 3.6 million, the full contract. Normally, when you are injured reserve, they
nice.
It's a standard that they have this split clause where they pay you at a lower rate. But because I guess the situation and just the way that they wanted to show love is, pay him in full. And that's a great way to show me some love. Pay me.
Show me some love because again, who knows if he's going to play again?
Right.
That's the thing. He may not play, so he'll be able to take that and do what he needs to do and just recover. So you don't have to worry. That's the good thing. You know what I mean? You don't have to worry about what you're going to do, how you're going to take care of yourself and your family. So that's pretty dope, because there's a whole big thing about the NFL. They was saying some negative things about them, but there's probably still some negative things out there about the NFL anyway. But
yeah, because it is an issue for any player, any new player that comes on, right? And I get it; they got to cover their expenses as well. But the whole idea that if you get injured playing this game that we asked you to play, that you signed up to play, if something happens to you, then that's it. We're just sorry for your loss type of thing. They, send you on your way.
Yeah, so it's unfortunate, but Brother Love, he had a whole point of view on this topic too, but he's not here to talk about it. But I will just bring up what he did mention about as far as it's a business thing. So it's like, although the player is injured, the business still has to run the way the business has to run.
Right, financially, they can't cover every that's what
I get that,
is
and
for.
I get that. But I also feel like the players, they gotta look out for the players too. So
yeah, and we did talk about the fact that you really have to prepare for if something should happen to you.
Something should
knowing
happen.
That this is such a game where you really can incur some life-changing injuries. You need the insurance. You need to be able to put a nest egg away to say, how am I going to live if this happens? And when you're young, you feel like you're immortal. You don't really think about the mortality of it all. So that becomes an issue as well. So somebody needs to be able to stand in. You are doing things that could really injure you. Let's make sure you cover yourself and not make it the responsibility of somebody else to make sure that you're okay.
Agreed, and I
So
guess that's with any job. I mean, I guess because that's what Rob was saying. If something happens to you, he brought up the post office. If you go out there and you happen to get injured and you can't deliver mail
slip
anymore,
and fall.
you have to,
You know how much you can
it's
get
not
for a
the
slip and
post
fall?
office's responsibility to make sure that they take care of you after you hurt yourself. If you
Right.
don't put things into emotion to cover you, and I get that, but take care of your players, even
Yeah.
still, you know.
Agreed. Yeah, to some degree. I mean, I guess the split clause is saying a lower rate and not no rate. So
You see, he's yelling and
uh
screaming and stuff. We see you, okay?
you can take your caps off, Ra.
You can, and the exclamation points. We got it. Gosh,
Oh my goodness. He's
yelling at the
still giving
TV.
us grief. He's still giving
Yeah,
us grief. Like, it's not necessary. You don't have to do that, my friend.
right. Everybody's saying the same
Yeah.
thing. With any job, you have to always be paid. Yeah, that is true. That is
Hmm.
true. And Jay was saying the movie Will Smith did about, yeah, right. That's true. Right. Because these summertime, but those injuries too, that what I don't want to say it wrong, CTE, I believe, is usually not something that they know about until they're dead, the player's dead, that they
And
suffer from that.
they've fulfilled their contract to some degree, right?
Right.
Because you've had to be in
Yeah.
a few games. I mean, not that you can't get a head injury first game out, but to actually know that they've suffered from some life-changing
Yeah. Some
concussions
head
is
trauma.
not something that reveals itself right away. And so proving that
Agreed.
that happened and that that's what it is and that you deserve some level of compensation, that's where now they know a lot more about it, but they didn't always, and so you didn't always get
They know by the
compensated for that.
symptoms. That's what somebody's saying. Yeah, because sometimes they can't diagnose it right away because there's no. I
Hmm.
don't think there's a diagnosis for it. Fellas, y'all in the chats. We on here trying to talk about some sports stuff. So,
Having not watched a football game this season.
listen. I mean, I have a kid that played football, so I know a little bit of something. But I want to get up here and sound crazy.
That's absolutely true.
I don't know.
Yeah,
It says
so
Facebook user. I don't know who Facebook user is. It's probably Prince because I don't. He be hiding and stuff. I don't know.
I
That you,
don't know.
Prince?
He probably owes somebody some money, messed around with somebody girl. Who knows? Got him
Hey
on.
Jess. Hey Jess. You can get hurt by driving a bus. I agree. You can. But at the end of the day, I'm just thankful that the young man is on the mend and the NFL is doing him right. So I am happy about that.
Yeah, thank God for that. And just prayers for his continued and complete recovery from this whole
Yes.
incident. So,
Agreed.
absolutely. What else is going on? How was your week?
My week was cool, Um making it do what it do.
Working.
Making it do what it do. I would talk about the bad stuff, but what's the point? No sense in complaining. Complaining don't change a thing.
Right.
Just keeping it moving.
I see a Chris in the chat said the problem is you get concussions throughout trying to get to the NFL. By the time you get there, damage could already be done.
Mm, that's a
Right?
good
Because there's
point.
college football, there's high school football, right?
That's true.
Yeah. You could
Yeah, by the
already
time you
come
get
in
to
a little
the
messed
NFL.
up,
Right. Yeah.
right?
Valid
Because you
point.
continue to get, you know, knocked around. So there's that.
And clearly the helmets obviously I mean they help some, but they don't help 100%.
Mm-mm. I remember I told you about me trying to ski and how I swear I gave myself a concussion because
I
I don't
remember
know how
this
to make
story.
the
Tell the people.
pizza.
Tell the people.
I don't know how to make the pizza. And I took a whole hour lesson, but I realized that I am not a skier. There's some things I do well, but skiing is just, I don't know, it just doesn't work for me. So I got on the baby slope, no less. And I was like, all right, I'm going to go down. And if anything goes wrong, I'm just going to fall and it's going to be fine. But I kept thinking about my friend Paula shattering her kneecap. So I didn't want to go down. Well, I just took up so much speed and I was like, all right, there's a net there. I'll just running to the net. But here comes this young man, this teenager, and he just came right in the line, and I just hit him. My helmet hit his helmet. I took him out. I was laid out. But when I tell you, my head was ringing, it was just ringing. And I was like, I can't imagine this happening to me repeatedly and repeatedly with the helmet on. So, um, yeah, got bad. But I really do think I gave myself a concussion. So,
I think you did too.
yeah,
And
I
I was
did.
like, what? Did you go to the hospital?
I just laid down. I was just like, all
Just
right,
laid there.
get in the passenger seat. Let's go home. I
Yeah,
had
Justice is
enough.
asking about all the young. I mean, I'm not sure what the question is. Just, I mean, we probably said something that made you ask that question, but I'm not sure how to answer that one.
Yeah, we'll just wait for him to
Wait for him to
explain that.
respond. But
Yeah.
in the meantime,
In the meantime, I guess what time it is.
what time is it?
Let me ask my cuz.
I think that is so cute. So as you all can see, I am not singing anymore. I have retired my lovely voice, and I will no longer be blessing you all with my vocals. Okay.
All right, let's hear it. No, none.
First question. Don't read the first questions because I
The
have to find
first
it.
question was, does every relationship require you to change?
Hmm. Keisha said, "Thank God." I don't appreciate that, but I'm gonna let you slide for that. You know you like my voice. No, we weren't talking about the football player, Jess. He said, "Don't mess this up." Anyway, yes. Does
Does
every
every
relationship
relationship
so
require you to
each
change?
time you get into a new relationship, does it require you to change it? I think
Yeah, there's some
yes.
lag with you. Mm-hmm.
I think yes to some degree. Sorry.
And explain further.
I think to some degree. I mean, you are who you are when you enter into a relationship, but you're dealing with different people. So, I mean, you're not going to change who you are because who you are is who you are, but you're not going to deal with every situation in that relationship the same as you would in all the past ones. Are you? I would hope not.
Yeah, it's an you want to show up as who you are in the relationship to be comfortable, because what's the change? Is it that you go to bed earlier, or are you changing part of your character? If you're somebody who is social or an introvert, and you meet someone that's the opposite, do you push yourself to be that thing so that you two are on the same page, or do you continue to stand in your space?
I'm sorry, hold on. I'm having some technical difficulties over here.
I see you
Hold,
digging and what have you.
hold on.
Because
Did
for
you
me,
go?
I think that if I meet somebody who's a complete introvert, and that's not who I am. Like, I feel like I should be able to show up and not say, "Oh, well, let's not go anywhere," or "It's just going to be you and me, and I can't get out because that person doesn't go." We have to find some kind of a happy medium, to me, where I'm able to still do the things that I enjoy and it not affect the relationship. Or we sit down and decide that these things are a problem, and then you don't continue the relationship.
Agreed.
Chris Chris made the point that if you care, you would make the change. But it to me, it's about who you are as a person. If this is who you are in the world, then you have to care about showing up as you are as well. So how do you do that
Gosh,
if you have to change?
I'm
I
so
guess I'm
sorry.
talking
Hold
to
on.
myself. Justice said, not your character, but small things. And I agree, Just. When I was with my kid's father, I ate Uncle Ben's rice for like 12 years, even though I grew up on Carolina and didn't like it. But I made that small change for the sacrifice of the family because that was what he enjoyed. But when it was over, I went right back to the rice I used to like. I ain't doing this no more because it wasn't my favorite anyway. So it was those little things. Like I agree. There are some things that you just, you make changes for, like the little things. But I think ultimately when it comes to who you are as a person and your character, those things should be brought to the table in the beginning, and you kind of talk about who you are, and then you find ways to either make that work, or it becomes something that you have to think about whether or not you want to continue to be in a relationship with this person. That's one of the things, like DJ Ra. He does that. He does parties. He does DJ. He DJs outside of New York City, so he flies a lot. He does a lot of things like that. So you meet someone like that, would you, and you're a type of person who doesn't travel, you don't really go places. How do you, can you reconcile with that? For some people that's a real issue, that he's not around, he's at parties all the time, and that may be a threatening situation. So you meet someone who doesn't approve. Do you find another way to like do things, or does that person not come with you ever because they're not a party person? So
Right.
those are the things that I think about when you ask about that. Jerome says, that's not a change, that's a compromise. The compromise is eating Uncle Ben's.
I think that's a change though, to me.
I did, and it really did make a difference when I was like, finally I could just, do it the way that makes me the most happiest. So I was making that, to me that was a sacrifice. Yes, I agree. To me it was. So Chris said that you
Yeah, because
appreciate
if
who the
you
other
like to
person
eat rice
is.
and you can't, I'm sorry, go ahead. What was that?
Chris in the comments said you appreciate who the person is, and also appreciate when you see them trying to do things that make you happy. And yes, Chris,
Jerome
I
is
agree
saying
with
not if you
that.
went back to Carolina, but we're talking about in the relationship. So the change is, does every relationship require you to change, right?
Hmm.
So you did change something about you that you like, that you changed in that relationship. Now, once you got out of it, you was like, I'm going to
Hmm.
eat that
Because
Carolina.
it really wasn't my thing, right? But I did it for the betterment of, like, I'm not making two different pots of rice. So I took that off the table. But yeah, it felt like Rashe said, did it feel good to go back to the kind of rice I wanted to eat? It absolutely did. It absolutely did. But I mean, these are the little things that you bring to the table. But I think when it comes to big things, some things are just not, I'm not willing to compromise on. I think you
Right.
have to be able to show up and be who you are as a person to really be happy in a relationship. Because if you're giving that, taking it, so many things away from who you are as a person, you don't show up authentically in a relationship. Those things build resentment, and
We
ultimately
do.
I think that it will, take the whole thing and ruin it. It'll ruin it
We
to some
would.
degree.
Now, because if there was, well, I can't, it's rice. So, I mean, I can't imagine that you were like, I hate him because he's making me eat Uncle Ben's. So it's not that
No,
serious.
no, that was a small change. The big
Right. That
change
was a
would be
small
like
change.
having like, one of the things that my personality of being somebody who's outgoing can
Right.
be a problem when it comes to someone who's an introvert. And
Agreed.
so
And Rashe
that
made a
can be an
valid point.
issue.
The small things get bigger. I agree. Because
Hmm.
when you start off doing little things, you tend to end up doing the bigger things that you might not want to do, but because you're doing it for that relationship or that person.
Right, I agree.
I mean, I think compromise. I was watching this clip where we probably all have seen it with Earth the Kit when she was saying compromise for what? She's like, we shouldn't really be compromising who we are for a relationship. And
Right,
I do agree with that. It's like we have to accept each other for who we are in that relationship and not try to change the other person to suit what we want. And a lot of times that's what generally happens in relationships. We tend to start the compromise and then we start to not like the compromise as time goes on. And then
right,
it
because
becomes
it's
the
not
bigger problem.
sustainable. And
Right.
I think
Because
that's what the problem is. At some point, it's like, I hate this damn rice.
what did Chris say? If I like more than sex, she doesn't, I won't press it. Same time, she should initiate it if we both care for each other. Okay. If that's, well, is that a big compromise? I guess.
Well, let's look at that
Well, yeah.
question a little bit differently, right? Say you are not a morning person and it don't work for you in the morning. So why would she initiate something that she doesn't
Right, because
enjoy?
she doesn't, because
Because
he likes
really, right, but then if she's not enjoying it,
it. She's just doing it for him.
she's just doing it for him. And is that okay?
Is it?
I don't
Especially if we're having sex. Let's just have it in the afternoon. If I'm a night person and he's a morning person, that's a
well,
compromise.
right, some lunch. Let's get some lunch.
Justice. When I talk about compromise, I don't mean, I don't know what the way you talking about, because I'm not gonna be no cat lady, but whatever. And she had a valid point, and I still agree with her point, because at the end of the day, compromising who you are is never something that you should be doing. Never, ever, ever.
That's not finding the person you're equally yoked with, because when you find
Exactly.
that person, it doesn't require you to compromise.
To compromise who
It
you
may
are.
require you to eat Uncle Ben's, but it doesn't necessarily require you
You
to
say eating
alter
Uncle
who you
Ben's.
are.
But
Yeah.
that didn't change who you were as a person, just
No, it
required you to
did.
eat something that you might not necessarily like to eat.
Exactly. Exactly.
Morning sex, and here all y'all goes with this morning sex stuff. Morning sex is probably is a healthy thing. But what if
I
she's
don't
not a morning person?
disagree. I don't
Yeah, I'm
disagree.
listen,
I'm saying
hey,
that there are some people, right, who wake up on the wrong side of the morning and that is just not their thing. And if you're in a relationship with someone who, let's say, for example, has a very high sex drive and they want to have sex, 5 days out of 7 during the week, and you more like a twice a week, maybe once every 2 weeks kind of person, that could be a real issue in a relationship because it
it
means
could.
that you're really just kind of dealing with it and there's no joy behind it. And at some point, you get to the point where you dread it, like, here it come again.
Here's the thing. If your partner really, really enjoys that, why can't you enjoy it too? Just for the sake of the relationship.
For the rest of your life.
Because you got with this person now, is morning sex a deal breaker? Oh, he wants morning sex, so I ain't gonna get with him.
Not to me. I'm happy in the morning.
I'm just
Don't ask
saying.
me.
I don't have a problem with it. I don't have a
Let's
problem with it.
go. Wake me
I
up.
don't have a problem with with the whole morning thing. It just is what it is. The joy should come out of your partner's joy. Agree, that's what I'm saying. Your happiness should be if your partner's happy, right?
To
And
some
whatever that
degree.
might look like.
To some degree. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I guess it depends. Are we talking about sex? Yes.
Well, yeah, we're talking about
We're
sex.
talking about morning sex. We're talking about morning sex. If your partner likes it and you don't, what do you do? I mean, we just kind of just veered away from the actual question, but basically, does every relationship require you to change? So whatever relationship you've been in, and the next relationship, and I'm single, so my next relationship, is that going to require me to change?
You'll make some
Some
alters,
adjustments. I would
yeah,
say
adjustments.
it would require me to adjust.
Mm-hmm.
So change, maybe not.
Because you have to make room for your partner in your life,
Right.
right?
Because I'm
Because
single and I'm living single. So
right.
everything is me being single. So
Mm-hmm.
yes, I will have to make some changes and adjustments in this new relationship that I get into.
Agreed.
Sex,
Agreed.
money, whatever. Just said
You
all things
say,
attached to sex should be good. Should it be? Should be. Maybe. I don't know.
well, you need to get a partner who's sexually healthy, and then that shouldn't be an issue.
Right. What P is asking. No, it's not that we don't like morning sex. We're saying that if you have a partner who likes morning sex and you don't, should you adjust? I'm not going
Should
to
you
say
just
change.
right? Because you
Should you
can't do it
adjust
anyway
to what
because
your
your partner
wants?
likes it.
Because it brings them your partner joy. So because that makes him happy, shouldn't that make you happy to make your partner happy? So yeah, I would say yeah.
I would, I'd give it up smooth every morning.
I'd be like,
Set
all
the
right.
clock.
I like a little, go to work. Good
Absolutely.
morning. What's up, Rakim? Love you too.
See, my cousin
So yeah.
Kerwin is on. Hey.
Hey, Kerwin. Compromise. Is it a compromise? Yeah, I guess. If that's what you want to call it.
Yeah, I don't know. It works for me.
It's only a compromise. I think a compromise is doing something that you don't want to do and you dread doing it.
I think it's meeting in the middle.
I think,
It's
yeah,
like, look here,
right. A
man.
compromise is
Let me, let me get myself halfway dressed, and I'm gonna come back in the room and brush my teeth, that kind of thing.
because
Show
if I'm
back up.
compromising, I'm like, well, let me just go ahead and do this thing because I know that this is what he likes me to do. But am I happy about it?
Right. You want it to bring you some joy
You want it to
also.
bring you joy, but I think that because it's my partner and he's happy, that's going to make me happy. So is it really a compromise?
Every morning for the rest of your life.
Well, I don't know if he's saying it's every morning. He just said, well, I don't
Hey,
know.
he
Ask
like it every
Chris.
morning.
Chris is the one that said that.
I'm saying every morning for the
Every
rest of your
morning,
life.
Chris.
Even though
Now,
you're not a
Jerome is
morning
saying that's
person.
settling. I don't agree with that. I don't agree that that's settling at all. I don't agree with that. But that's fine.
Okay.
That's fine.
Okay.
All right. So we're going to move on to the next question. And that is, how do you know if you're giving too much in a relationship?
Like sex every morning when you don't really like it. No, I'm just kidding.
How do you know? How do you know?
Oh
Let's talk about
gosh,
it.
how do you know, or if it's possible to give too much in a relationship, right? When it's like 80-20, when you're in that position where your partner is not showing up and you're
Wait,
carrying the
Aaron
lion's
said,
share.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, Shay. He said, I need to tune my wife into this and listen. I guess he likes more than sex.
Just start off, hey.
So, okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Shay, answer.
Um, what was the question again? No, how do you know you're giving too much? I was just saying about the 80-20, right? If you're in a
Right.
relationship and your partner isn't showing up, and it's kind of like this mother effer never reciprocates.
Hmm.
And I think we both, and like one of the things that we said a lot in the chat, in the comments, was compromise, right? That
Right.
is when your partner does not compromise ever, to me, is a position where that's not, and not that it's ever equal, but to me that's when you know that you're giving too much, because you're showing up and your partner isn't.
Right.
Yeah,
I,
to
I
me.
agree with that.
Yeah.
I mean, Chris said there's no such thing as too much. I get it is. I think it is only if you're giving and all they're doing is taking.
Mm-hmm.
Then it
Narcissists
becomes
narcissists tend to be that thing also.
yes, yes. They take,
Mm-hmm.
take, 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 take. So to me, if you are, if that's your situation, you might want to reevaluate some things in that relationship because who wants to be in a relationship where all they're doing is giving?
Mm-hmm.
So
Right.
in a healthy relationship, I would agree with Chris. No
In a
such
healthy
thing as too much.
relationship.
Right.
Right. Because
No
you're
such
both,
thing as too much.
it
Because
shouldn't
you're
even be
both
counting. You
right.
shouldn't even be counting. You should just be showing up. And in that, then you shouldn't have any issues. But
Yeah.
that's
You
not
never
always the
should
case.
be about what you give, but do you have to worry about then in yourself? Yeah, I agree. It should never be about what you give, but there comes a time if you're in a relationship that you're not getting what you need from the relationship.
And
You
I
have to
think
look at
that's a very good point,
that.
right?
Right.
If you feel like you're not being fulfilled or you're not being
Right.
seen, right? That becomes an issue where
Right.
it becomes just one-sided about, I need to make sure that this other partner is doing everything that they can to make me happy, and then that person is never thinking about what it takes to make you happy and not showing up.
Agreed.
That to
I
me
think
is
reciprocity is, I think you shouldn't have to think about reciprocity when you're giving from your heart and you're giving because you love. So if you're
right.
giving because you love, you're not necessarily thinking about what you're getting back, but at some point, you're going to notice it.
Mm-hmm. And you know when
So
when it's not really there for you, like it for your own
agreed.
self, like, because I know that for me, like it would just shut me all the way down. I'm like, what are you asking for? And and I know I many years ago I was in this relationship with someone who complained about the fact that half my day would pass by and I wouldn't call. And I was like,
Mm,
oh, and what I had to do, and this is how I knew that the relationship was over, is that I would look at the clock and be like, oh God, it's 10:30. Let me call so it's not an issue. And I was like, I don't need
Mm.
to be here anymore.
But that
Right?
was
Because
something that
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 kind of
person
thing you
wanted.
shouldn't think. Right. But to me, that's the kind of thing that you give because you're giving. You don't,
Because you're giving
the
it,
fact
right.
that I had to think about it and plan to call said to me, this is not really in my heart.
Right, to
That's how
watch
I
the
knew I
clock.
wasn't
Oh
there.
God, it's
Yeah, I was
12
like, oh,
o'clock
I
and
don't
I
want to
haven't called yet.
complain.
It's gonna
So
be a
let me make
problem.
sure yeah, I was like, oh no. Even though great person and it wasn't like, it was a bad relationship, but there was clearly, some part of me that didn't, just wasn't working.
Just that clearly goes to show you that when you enter into a new relationship, you need to kind of make sure that you're both on the same page and you're compatible, because you don't want to get into a relationship because, oh, it's lust and I lust after this person and they're a nice person and okay, they have a good heart, but are you really compatible? Because then you won't be having these type of conversations like, are you giving too much in a relationship? You
Right.
won't even have to answer that. You just kind of, I don't think these are things that should have to be said once you're in a relationship. I think I'm giving too much. Why am I
Mm-hmm.
even saying that? Like, why am I even thinking that? Because it shouldn't even be that. Shouldn't even be that. That shouldn't even be a conversation.
Yeah.
Imagine having to have that conversation with your partner, like, you know what, I give all the time and you don't do nothing. But by that time, I'm ready
Chris
to
is
walk
funny.
out.
He said, "You otherwise get out."
Yeah,
He
that was
didn't say
Chris.
have a
Yes,
conversation. It's like,
exactly. Your partner should
Oh,
have
you
you.
don't have
Otherwise,
me?
get out. I agree. He said, this is depressing. Oh my gosh. All right. See you later, Jess.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
relationships can be if you're not in the right headspace or if you're not
I
in a healthy
agree.
one.
I agree.
So, right. But
Well, let's be
anyway,
more depressing, right? Dun, dun, dun. We had this really great conversation and really just wanted to kind of kick it with our chat about having courageous conversations and in a lot of relationships, and not just male and female relationships, but even your friends, sometimes your family. You have to enter into these hard conversations that
right.
it just could really alter the relationship. And I know, like I was saying to Shell, is that I tend to be a pain avoider. And so even when I know I need to have a conversation with someone, it takes me a very long time sometimes to bring that conversation to the floor, because I know that it's going to be hurtful and I don't
Right.
want to hurt people. And so I sometimes will hold on to it a little too long.
Yeah.
And so I know that that's the thing. How do you begin to have these courageous conversations? What are some of the ways to have them and not dread the outcome, not have it turn into the fight, right? Because sometimes you say something and next minute you know you in this knockdown, drag out argument.
Yeah.
And it's like, how did I didn't mean to go that way.
I
Like, wait a
decided
minute. I was just trying to, oh no,
I just
where's
I
that
just
going?
expressing myself.
Yeah. And next minute you know you're defending yourself, and before you know it, y'all cussing each other out. It's like,
Yeah, that's not okay.
oh,
That's not okay. I think it has to first start with, I think usually Jerome said something about accountability and removing your ego. I agree. Now, whose ego are we talking about? Because I'm having the conversation, whoever's having the conversation. I don't think that person is, well, I don't know. I can't say that. But I think you have to approach the situation understanding and concerning yourself with how that person is going to feel. Well, no, I don't know, because you really can't determine how they're going to feel by what you say, because what you say might trigger them
right.
to, especially if this is not something that they're ready to hear or want to hear.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes those conversations can be a little bit difficult, but I do think you have to you have to approach it very gently. Yeah, very
Mm.
gently. You don't want to come at somebody. You want to, because everybody hates that,
Feel
oh, I
attacked.
think we need to talk.
That is the worst thing you could say. We should
I think we
talk.
need to talk. Now it's like, dun-dun-dun, what's coming next? So it's
Like,
some
nah,
things
we
that,
don't talk at dinner. Tell me right now.
right.
I'm not
Tell me
waiting
right
till I
now.
get home. What? Say it.
Wait, what did Chris say? Can a man tell you there is something physically he wants to change in a way that you don't take personally and resent him for it?
Well, in that, I think that's about weight. I mean,
I would
because how
say
you
so.
can't change your physical. I mean, I guess they could ask you to get a boob job, right? Like, babe, I would really love it if you had some D cups, some double, triple D's. Can you, go ahead and
Okay,
do that
look,
thing?
I like the way he said it. I love you. I'm not going anywhere either way, but babe, you can lose about 50 pounds or something like
So that
that.
don't cut your hair no more.
You got it. And I like the way he started it. You know what I'm saying? Okay, I'm caring about her feelings, and this might be a sensitive topic because she might be stressed, or he, or whoever's having the
Right.
conversation. But way do you know is a touchy subject. But my
For
thing
women,
is,
yes.
as the overweight person, you kind of know you need to lose some weight. But it
Yeah.
doesn't feel good if your partner tells you that, because it's like, well, I thought you loved me.
Mm-hmm.
What
Right. You gotta love me and accept me for who I am. But the
who I am.
reality is that there are certain physical things that can change in your partner over time that you can find unattractive and no longer be sexually attracted to them. Right? Because it can happen for women as well. You meet a guy and he's in great shape and you with him for 10 years and now he's out of shape and things are not looking good. He got a little, whatever the case might be, and you like, I don't, I
Yeah, but
don't.
how do you tell him that? Like, I don't want to have sex with you anymore. Like, that's how
Like,
do
I'm
you
not
tell your dude that?
right. That is a courageous
How,
conversation,
how
right?
do
Because it's
you tell your
like
dude that?
you hold his hand, babe. And I
Only,
did see that.
only,
Okay.
yeah. That is a conversation that is hard to have. Even if okay, weight is one thing.
Hmm.
I like the way Chris, that was perfect for me, because if my dude came to me and said that first, my walls are gonna come down, and I'm gonna be like, all right, let's have this conversation. Now we're
And
talking
that
about
weight conversation, I think if you also
right.
say something, I think we should do something. Like we need to start
Yeah,
working out together. Let's start, walking 3 nights out the week to get started. Let's do things differently. You could always incorporate a we situation into that,
yeah,
to have that kind of conversation.
agreed.
But if it's something like, I don't like the sex and I need
Oh,
to, right? Like
now
you
how
could
do you say?
just
Oh, how do you
how do
have
you
that
come up with that?
conversation?
Like, you done fell off and I'm just not enjoying it anymore. I don't want to do it. Like you're just not doing it for me. We need to spruce it up. What do you do?
Keith said, if you're married, it's for better or for worse. I think, yeah, marriage and a committed relationship, both ways, whether you married or not.
It is. I mean, but I think one of the things that Chris said that was really important is the I'm not going anywhere part, right?
Right,
People are fearful that you're going to share something and that person is going to no longer want to be with you.
right.
Or, there will be some resentment that they'll hold on to and that'll come up. It'll be a problem later on because you
Ooh,
were honest. So,
interesting.
uh I don't, yeah.
I don't,
I don't
yeah.
know. I guess you might have a point there, Chris.
I
Like,
guess I don't think I've ever had that.
and maybe it's because men can't say it.
Because
Because right,
because
you make them
how do
feel
you receive
self
that? Now
conscious.
Jerome asked the question that says, why are your walls up if you know you're talking with someone you know loves you? It doesn't matter. Then I'm just going to use me and Shay for an example. Outside of a relationship, she could come to me and say, or I can come to her and say something. I know she's coming to me with love, but there's some things you don't necessarily always want to hear, whether it's coming from a loving place or whatever anything else. So for me, when I say my walls are up, it kind of puts you in a comfortable place to receive whatever it is that they're saying, because things sting.
You mean your
No
walls
matter what,
down?
it can
Yeah.
sting. Yeah, that thing can sting, especially if it's something that you like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
okay.
You didn't know.
Yeah, yeah, right. So it doesn't take away that. You know what I mean? So how
Mm-hmm.
you start something off is really going to it matters. It really matters how you start it off. Like, we have a love sandwich. Hey, it's love sandwich time. So you're like, okay, whew, let me
I
go ahead and
brace
breathe, because I know,
myself.
because
Yeah, I know
something's
whatever
about to
she's gonna
come,
say is
right?
gonna hurt my feelings, but I know she,
Right.
it
And
needs to be said.
sometimes feelings are hurt.
The
But
difference is
because,
that we're able to walk away, and I can think about what you said later on,
right,
and remove the sting part of it, and look at it from a different angle. That
right.
doesn't
But
always happen.
presentation is everything, though.
Yes.
Presentation is everything. How you start that conversation off matters,
Mm-hmm.
because that whatever reaction you're going to get is based off of how you start that conversation.
Right. And one of the points that I was thinking about when Chris said that about being able to tell your partner something, and we talked about weight, but there could be things, right? If it's something that your partner can't change about themselves, right? Let's say, for example, unless it's surgery, I mentioned,
They know.
having, right, your nose is too damn big. No, like, they got A cups and you really want D, and the A is not doing it for you, right? And your partner can't really change that about themselves, or a man who's um not big enough. I'm trying to say it gently, right? He's just not fulfilling you because it's just not enough going on in that way. But you love him to death. But you have to say, look, it's mediocre because the size isn't there, or whatever the case might be, right? It could be
See
some women
that?
like that. It could be some women who are like, I know, I have some friends that unless it's a certain size, it doesn't work for them. So you come to them,
Then
you
I would
great and
think
you
that you wouldn't get with
fabulous.
this. We wouldn't be with that person, though.
Well, you never know.
Because
Some
why would you
people,
get with somebody who you know what it is, you know what they're working with, and especially if it's a size thing?
it could be it right there in the middle. Like it's just enough, but not, not really hitting the
So now
bottom.
it's a problem. We in the relationship,
Ah,
so now it's a problem.
yeah.
That
Say I
I would be
tried and
like,
now I can't.
yeah, it's been cool for these past 10 years, but now I think I want a little bit bigger.
Like this
That's
just
whack.
never been
That's not
fulfilling.
okay. That's not a good
No,
That's
it
not a
isn't.
courageous
It
conversation.
isn't. It
That's not a
isn't.
courageous.
Yeah. Well, let's say you've been in a relationship with this person for, you know, 6 months, and you've been having sex for 2 of those months, and you realize that after knowing them for a while, and it was going really great and fabulous, that this part isn't going to work for you. Do you say to them, "Look, I want to break up because you just don't do it for me in that way sexually, but everything else is great and fabulous"? Something that they can't change.
um, no, I think that's cruel.
So you would
I
lie.
don't know. I don't know if that's a courageous conversation, because you're
Well,
telling somebody
so you
to.
lie
Do you lie? What if you're
yeah,
not fulfilled in the relationship? It just
sexually.
happened, or you haven't
No,
been
you've been
the
with this
whole time?
person. I'm building this scenario. Y'all been in a
Okay.
relationship for 6 months. And now that you've been together for these 6 months, the relationship becomes intimate, and you realize that that thing isn't working, right?
Oh,
It's not.
after some
Yeah.
time, you
And
haven't
so
really had
now here you are, right? This is the seventh month in, and y'all have had sex 3 times, and you know that this isn't going to work. Do you say the reason why I don't want to be with you is because it's sexually I'm not being satisfied because it's not enough, and he can't fix that because that's his size? Do you just say, or do
Okay,
you lie?
I've been there before. I've been there. I've been here before.
Okay, this is why I'm asking. Did you
So
lie?
I
Or
did
did you
not
just fade to
necessarily. I
black?
didn't lie. I didn't lie. I didn't lie.
You
I
didn't
did
lie.
not lie. But what happened is he started doing other things that kind of made it easier for me to be like, I'm out. So I
Okay.
didn't make it about the sex, although the sex probably pushed me quicker out the door.
Mm,
But it
mm,
wasn't just that, because I rocked with him for a whole year before that even happened.
mm.
So there was
But
never
you
really
weren't really, really,
I wasn't satisfied sexually, but he was
and you
cool. But
knew
then,
the relationship wasn't going to go anywhere.
well, I was kind of hopeful, but then it was like, okay, then you start to think, can I be with somebody whose sex is not great? But
10
they
years
got other
later,
things going on. Because my thing is, if you are a dope ass dude, but your sex game is trash,
that drops you down a whole bunch of notches. Sorry. Sorry, not sorry, but
do you just be out?
yeah, I want to break up.
I don't know. I don't know if I'm breaking up just because sex is bad.
I am.
I'm sorry. I'm serious.
I'm serious too.
Because we
We
can
can't be
incorporate
together.
some things. We could, I feel like you can have a conversation. Listen, babe.
Well, let me say this. The sex being bad means that we could do things to fix it because it isn't really necessarily about size. But if the sex is bad, if that thing just can't be fixed, right?
If the sex is bad, I mean, if it's a smaller size. So you're saying you was rocking with somebody for 6 months, you never had sex, you never intimate, so you just find out we've been cool, everything's great, and then bam. Whew.
I called that for, let me tell you, I called him the next time we spoke and I said, I think we should be friends. Dead ass. I was like, oh, no, no,
Well,
no.
you're
I'm
not
not
really that
even
invested
going to
though.
do it again.
You're
I'm
not
not even going
invested.
to try it again. I was
So
like,
is
this
that a
is
courageous
absolutely
conversation,
not.
or you just break up without even? Do you give a
I
why?
was not courageous. I was much younger. I was not courageous. And I just lied. I was not
Okay,
courageous. Yeah,
but
I couldn't
I
do
don't
it.
do it. Okay. I have a question. Do breakups warrant an explanation?
To some degree. I think you don't necessarily have to break down the bullet points, but you could say I'm not fulfilled and I don't think that this is the trajectory of my
Right. So
life.
you don't
And
necessarily have to say it's the sex.
yeah, but I don't know. I broke up right away. I did.
Yeah, I mean,
I know he knew, but I just couldn't. I couldn't. It was just
a man probably knows, just like a woman. I mean, it's easy. Well, I don't know about. I can't speak for a man in his situation if he's had bad sex. Fellas in the chat, bad sex. Are you breaking up? And how is that conversation going? This is when Rashay needs to be on here right now.
I know because he probably out the door immediately. I don't
What
know.
if it's about if it's good and not enough? I don't. Or not. If it's good, it's good.
Good is good, and good is
Yeah.
not about size. I don't want you to
Right.
think that
Right.
that was the issue. It was just bad sex, and I
Yeah.
just didn't
Altogether.
have the courage to be able to say that was terrible. We need to do it differently, and blah blah blah. It was just too many obstacles for me to. I was like, man, let me cut my losses
Right.
immediately.
That part I get. Now let's kind
Yeah.
of veer away from the relationship thing. What about friendships? And what about potential relationships? Those conversations that you need to have to gauge whether or not you want to be with somebody.
Mm-hmm.
Those are courageous conversations, or you're just going to end up in a situation just blindly just getting in it and then figuring it out as you go along, which never ever works.
It doesn't, but a lot of relationships start off that way. You meet
He said,
somebody, you
but
have a
Chris
good
is adamant
conversation.
about women can't take criticism.
I don't
He said
I
in
don't
his experience,
disagree.
I get
Yeah, I
it.
don't
I get it.
disagree. And I think women
Oh
don't ever think
my
that we
goodness.
have
Well, look
bad
at that
sex.
there.
Oh, wow. All
Oh,
right.
well, all right then.
So we just gonna let that one rock.
I
Maybe.
don't know if all men feel like that.
Right, because it could be like they have nothing to give. Like
And it could
I've
be like,
heard
hello,
situations of
hello,
women who just
hello.
lay there, right? And they don't have any action, but they give it. And there's nothing, there's no meld, it's more than just the actual act, because to me it's
Yeah,
a whole thing. It's the
the whole
kissing, it's
thing,
the
right?
touching, it's the talking shit. It's a lot of things that go into it,
Yeah.
so it's more than just that. But Um, now that you've done that, right? Let's go back to conversations
those
that we
courageous
have.
conversations with friends,
Hmm.
because sometimes those are hard. Those are hard to have
Yeah,
because you
I'm
don't
lucky
know.
enough that I think for me with friends is easier, and
Okay.
and I say that because I've had to approach friendships and say, I need to talk to you about something, because if I don't say it to you, I can't show up in this friendship. Like, I don't want to,
Right.
because if I don't, I can't really be disingenuous. And
Right.
so for me, I find it a little easier in that, because um, I can have that with them, because my friendships are valuable to me. And I don't want to be in a
Mhm.
position where I have some resentment, and because then I
Right.
can't show up in the friendship. So for me, it's
Okay.
easier for me to call and be like, bitch, you hurt my feelings. You know, it needs to be
Okay.
said. Yeah.
Rashe says
So,
no need to talk. It will come naturally. Too much combo can ruin a relationship. I think lack of conversation can ruin a relationship. That's my take on that. Because if there's things that are bothering you and you're holding it and you're carrying it and you're just moving on like everything is just great, there's going to be some resentment there
hmm,
and the friendship is going to suffer
I
to
think
some degree.
I agree. I agree. I think for me, what I do in relationships is I weigh it and I say to myself, is it worth bringing to the table? The only time that I will really bring it to a conversation is if it's something that needs to be changed, or altered or
Yeah.
addressed. You are approaching a situation where it's bothering me, or whatever the case might be. I'm feeling like you're taking advantage of whatever it is, because then I need to know where your head is at, and whether or not is something that you may not be conscious of. And if I'm not telling you, how do you know that it's bothering me enough
It's
to do
bothering you.
something about it? But there's certain things where I'm like, man, I'll just pick up the socks. I'm not going to really fuss about the socks on the floor. But if you leave your socks, your pants, your shirt, and every single day I got to pick up after you, yeah, we might have an issue that I need to bring to the table. Like, look here, man, I'm not your maid. So it
Yeah,
depends on
because on the
the
receiving end of
severity
those
of it.
conversations, because that's why I think can be a little bit challenging, especially if the person that you're talking to doesn't take accountability for the things that you're saying that they're doing.
Hmm.
So
Right.
then
Or become defensive.
or become defensive, right? And
Like,
then
you
now,
always leave your so I pick up your cups everywhere
yeah,
around the house. And it's like, come on.
and that's where I think there's a hesitation when we start thinking about having these conversations, because you tend to know your friends. You tend to know who they are. You tend to know if that person's going to be defensive or if they're going to, but you kind of want to give them a benefit of the doubt to some degree because the thing is bothering you and
Right.
it needs to be said. I have to say that I've been in that position where I'll just like let things go because I feel like it won't be received well. I probably shouldn't think like that all the time, but I have,
Does it
and
change how
because
you show up in the
in
relationship?
their personality and who they are to me as a friend, I tend to kind of know, all right, I'm just not, because it's going to end up bad because I know that I'm going to be like, man, it's not
Hmm.
even hearing me or, it's
Dismissive.
dismissive and then it turns into a thing. So, yeah, I get it. So, I mean, how do you avoid that? Because now you walk away and there's a little bit of resentment.
Hmm.
So
I
the
think
friendship,
also one of the things that works is when you open with vulnerability, right? Sometimes telling your part and saying, I know that sometimes I have a
right?
tendency to, um, not hear what you're saying when you're talking to me, and I know that might be hurtful, but you did something the other day that I wanted to talk to you about. Is a way to kind of approach a difficult conversation.
Right.
Sometimes, when because I mean, sometimes you have to set it up so that you can, have the conversation and um think about the outcome that you want to have. What is it that you're hoping happens at the end of this
Right.
conversation? Are you looking to be right, or are you looking for resolution? Right?
Yeah.
What is it
Yeah.
that I'm hoping to have from this? Like, I don't want to pick up after you anymore because it makes me feel like you don't appreciate me all day long working, and now I have to come home and be act like a parent, and I don't want to be the overseer of the household, and therefore that's my
Right.
reason for feeling like I don't want to pick it up.
So this is relationships in a
Yeah,
relationship.
just and that's just an example, and I went back to
Right.
talking about relationships, but overall, how you approach it is really about what you hope the outcome, what you want the outcome to be, and approaching it from that point. Like, I want to be able to have a good friendship with you, like you my girl, and
Yeah.
I don't want that to go away, because I don't want to hold this thing against you. This is why we have to talk about it, so
Right.
I don't have the whole that.
So
So,
then that's how you start the conversation off, I think, in that
mm-hmm,
way. What if what I need is what you're doing? No, I don't think you are a maid, but I don't see things like you do, and I appreciate you helping. Oh, I like the
that
way you
comes
just
out
flip
that
that
comes
around. I
out
like the way you flip that
yeah,
around.
but that's why you have the conversation, right? Because you don't know how the other person is perceiving the act that you're doing until you say, I really appreciate the fact that you helped me with that,
Yeah.
because I get up, and I come in, I'm tired, I'm trying to rush to do X, Y, and Z. I just took it off and threw it down. And
Right.
I appreciate the fact that you do pick that up for me. Might make that person be like, yeah, this is where I'm helping. And therefore
Right.
the resentment is taken out of it, because you've now had this conversation.
Because
It's when you
you're on
don't.
one hand thinking the person is taking advantage of you, and the partner is looking at it from you helping them.
Right.
So if there's no conversation, you're
Right.
mad,
And that's why,
and
for
he's
me,
like, "God, thank you,"
much
or
conversation
she's
is
like, "Thank
not
you."
a
Yeah.
problem. Right, right. Then you feel
Right.
like, yes, here I am contributing to the situation. Run, hurry up, get ready. Don't worry about it. I'll pick the stuff up.
Right.
Right. Or you get a hamper and you put it right there in that spot.
Right.
Like, I'm gonna just give you a new hamper of your very own.
I think
You can
things
figure
like
it out.
that can be those little things that annoy people, because I'm have to constantly pick up behind this person. And I guess if you change the way you think about the situation, especially if you're in, we're going to talk about a healthy relationship. If you're in a healthy relationship, you're just doing it just to
Mm-hmm.
be doing it because it's on the floor. Let
Mm-hmm.
me just pick it up because he left it there or she left it there. Just pick it up. But I think if we approach it from a negative perspective, it's going to be a negative outcome with her or him. So you're
Mm-hmm.
looking at it from a negative perspective, like he don't never pick up his stuff, and I'm constantly picking up behind him. But he's a great dude, and he does everything else right.
Mm-hmm.
But you picking up his clothes is a negative thing, and it's bothersome. And like Chris was saying, for him, it's like, I appreciate you for doing that for me.
Right. I agree.
So
And
yeah,
that
I
that
really
needs to be said.
agreed. It is a conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Or you just got to change the way you think of it, because if you're thinking healthy, you might not go into that negative space.
If you think that your partner has your back, right? If you
And,
feel like
and
they're
that's
not.
what it should be.
Right.
If your partner
Right.
has your back, then it probably shouldn't be that much of a problem. But if your partner is selfish, or you don't feel like they have the back, it's going to be, and I think that's when that becomes a problem.
Mm-hmm. Because then it becomes another example of how you're not showing up,
Right.
or
In the
how you're
relationship.
taking
Agreed.
advantage because you do this thing and that thing, and you leave your clothes on the floor.
Right. So, right. That's what that's about. So, if we're
Mm-hmm.
talking about healthy relationships, that might not necessarily be a conversation because it's not anything negative.
Right.
It's
Agreed.
just that thing. Just what you're doing. So, yeah. But, oh gosh, it's almost an hour.
That happened quick.
That was fast. It could be a trigger as well, Jerome said. It could be but again, that just goes back to your healthy mindset. If you have a healthy
Mm-hmm.
mindset and you're in a healthy relationship, then you need to be able to adjust your own trigger because it's your trigger.
Right.
It's not them doing something to you. It's you taking it because maybe your past relationships, you had to clean up behind him because he was terrible, he was this person and that person. But this new relationship or the next relationship, that person is not necessarily that. He's a good person or she's a good person.
Or you grew up in a household that wasn't the cleanest, and now that you're an adult, you don't want your house to ever be a mess, and that takes you back to a place.
It
And
triggers
you
you, right?
sometimes need to explain that, like, listen, it's not the clothes, it's what it makes me feel like. And I have a visual sensitivity. I want things in a particular way, and so for me, that would probably be something I would want to address, because I don't want to
Okay.
come home and find you know things spewed about all the time. It's okay sometimes, but for the most part, I want to come home to my bed being made and things being in order. And those, I make my bed every day type
But
thing,
what if
because
that's not the partner that you chose,
he
but he's
has to
still a
make the
good dude?
bed. He has to make the
See,
bed.
that's that. I don't know. Okay. But what if that's not him? That's not who he is. So then there's
Well,
that
get
way.
up first. Get up so I can make the bed. Then you can lay on top of it. I'm playing with you. Make that bed.
I'm just saying, like, those are small things for me. So it's like, if he's not making up the bed, I'll make up the bed, especially if he
Yeah,
does everything else right.
I will make it up every day. I don't have a problem with making the bed. I have a problem with coming home and finding the room in disarray and it not being an issue, knowing that I have a visual sensitivity to it.
Then
That's
he
my
needs to
point.
actually be the person that recognizes that about you and
Lets me make the
let's
bed. You just
let's
get out the way. Get up.
figure this thing out.
Yeah. Or make the
But
bed so I don't
sometimes
have to
our
suffer.
triggers, we need to adjust them ourselves because it's not
Some.
for somebody else to adjust our triggers.
Agreed. Agreed.
Yeah.
It depends.
So
That's a small thing.
yeah, it is because you like I'm breaking up. You
No,
you
no,
were
I
making up
ain't
this bed.
breaking. I'm
We
beating
breaking
that
up.
ass now. Just kidding.
That's
Just
it.
kidding. That's it. You getting your ass
The top
beat
on the floor. Oh, and
today.
that's it. I'm breaking up.
Coming that door like a tornado.
That's it. The relationship is over. Why? It's a sock on the floor. That's it. I'm done.
Every
You
day
out.
that bed
Take
wasn't
your
made.
socks and you gotta go. We are joking,
Oh,
but
this has
anyway.
been fun. This has
This
been
has been
fun.
fun. Thank y'all for rocking with us.
Despite what it just said, that it was painful,
Yeah, just I don't
depressing.
know. We triggered him, so I don't know what
I
happened,
don't
but he
know.
got him
It
out of
might be
here.
because we didn't want to have. He thinks we don't want to have morning sex.
Yeah. I think just got triggered and he got the hell on.
Bye, y'all. Y'all
But
depressing.
I appreciate the conversation, guys. Thank you so much. Next week we'll be back with DJ Big Rod, as long as nothing else goes wrong.
Yes. And we
But
failed to mention where you should check us out. You want to
check
share
us
that?
out.
Where?
See, wait, I have to listen.
I'll find
Ronald's
it.
not here. Let's shout out to Ronald because he's not here today.
Guy on the couch. You don't know how much we, don't want to do your part. You need to get well and show up.
Get
Woo-woo.
well and show up and yeah.
Yes.
Oh, but we're on I guess I didn't edit that. We're on Twitch, Spotify, YouTube. We're not on IG, but you can go follow us on IG. We're not live, and we're on Facebook and iHeartRadio. And if you have a question or anything, you can email us at conversationswithmycuz so we can talk about your question and we can give you some of our fabulous advice.
Yeah, we got fabulous
Okay.
advice.
So but just keep in mind that we are speaking from our own experiences and we are not therapists, but
No, we are not.
we
Nor
will give you
experts,
some
but
good
we have
advice.
opinions.
And
Yeah,
we have opinions. You can agree or not agree, but it's okay.
And
So
the chat has opinions, so you have them as well. So there's that.
Yeah, before it's all said and done, we're gonna get you together.
That's right. Somebody gonna tell you something that's gonna make it right. That's all we know.
Exactly. But as you know, we end every show with a quote, and the quote that I have today is: "The art of conversation is the art of hearing as well as being heard."
I love it.
And we will see you guys next week.
Yes, peace out.